2018 matric results have revealed Limpopo and Eastern Cape as the worst performing provinces in the country. A number of questions have been raised about the performance of pupils in these areas. Now, education activist, Hendrick Makaneta joins us now in studio to unpack some of the challenges in the education system. Thanks very much, Hendrick, for coming into studio.
Thank you.
I mean, you and I were talking a little bit off air about, everyone being lauded, all the officials being lauded for this year's matric pass rate. But a number of people are raising a red flag saying, actually, this percentage pass rate is closer to 40% if you consider the number of pupils we saw in grade 1 and how many of them have made it all the way to grade 12.
Yeah, I think that is true. The current crop of matriculants who passed, they are not complete. They often say as pelelanga. They are missing students, who more than 300,000 of them, who fell by the wayside along the way ever since they started in grade 1. And we think that, that is a cause for great concern, because the key question is, where are these learners? But I think that at the same time, we must also applaud the good work that the minister continues to do with the remaining number of learners who are in the system. And we think that, it is a balance. We are concerned about those who are not in the system, but we are also happy with the performance of those who made it, those who are currently in the system.
I mean, to be fair, the issue of dropout rates being as high as they are is not something that only the Department of Education can solve. I mean, it's an issue that is so incredibly wide-ranging. You look at the situation at home for many of these pupils, talk about gangsterism, drugs, unemployment in the home. It's a wide-ranging issue.
No, of course it is. On one hand, the government, in particular the DBE, through its policy of progression, is trying very hard to try and alleviate these dropout rates. In our view, we applaud them on that. But we believe that, there are many factors, as you have indicated. The society in general, where our learners come from, also plays a role. If a learner is in the family which becomes broken, for instance, as a result of divorce or any other challenge, learners may end up being demoralized and not, continuing with their studies. But also issues of gangsterism that are there in the community. Learners, for example, girl learners who are unable to get enough access to sanitary towels. Some of them end up not, being demotivated to continue with this. So it's quite a wide-ranging number of factors which, cause this problem. And of course, you are correct. Government alone cannot be able to resolve these problems. We believe that as society, NGOs, parents as well, we might have to call for another summit, which will look at, the dropout rates that is affecting the department, just immediately after the one that we had on safety.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if we look at 2017's matric results, there were, I believe, 9 schools that achieved a 0% matric pass rate. And those schools were in provinces like the Eastern Cape and Limpopo. If we look at the province's performances for 2018, Limpopo 69.5% for 2018, the Eastern Cape 70.6%. It's not a completely dire performance, but it is far behind the national average.
We are extremely concerned about the two provinces, Eastern Cape as well as Limpopo. You'll recall that these two provinces are also affected by lack of infrastructure. Yeah. We made a call some time ago, for government to make a decisive intervention to try and eradicate pit toilets, for example, some of which have already cost lives of learners. And to this extent, we want to once again, thank the intervention by the president. You'll recall that at some point, President Ramaphosa called the Nelson Mandela Foundation, together with other stakeholders, to try and deal with this issue of pit toilets. But we think broadly, it's most unfortunate that timeframes were not put into place because to alleviate infrastructure problems in Eastern Cape and Limpopo, or in fact in Limpopo alone, that will cost more than 3 billion rands. I'm talking about pit toilets, not classrooms. So, of course, Minister Njimse has been complaining as well that the budget is too low, and we're really calling on government, in particular, the President, to sit down with the Finance Minister to find ways and means of ensuring that they prioritize education. We know that ever since 2010, education has always been an apex priority of government, if you look also in the ANC policy document. So we think that let us walk the talk. Yeah. Let us make sure that we really genuinely prioritize it.
Well, the other issue, of course, is we have all of these matriculants now who have passed with university entrance. But is there enough space for them? Are there enough places for them to go?
Well, you know, our universities, of course, do not necessarily have enough space. If you look at Wits University, for example, they are already receiving, applications which are more than 50,000. And the place that can be accommodated for first-year entry students, it's around 5,000, 6,000. So obviously, we're still lagging behind at that level. And that is why also, as the Education for Social Justice Foundation, we've also called upon government to try and build, in addition to the 2 universities that have already built, the University of Mpumalanga as well as Solplaatje University, to try and build more universities. Because, these universities currently were meant for few people. But ever since we made, education a priority, more and more learners are passing matric. And we are likely to see, a bigger number, an increase in years to come. So it is not enough. Of course, we do have TVET colleges, and we applaud, Deputy Minister Butimana, who has been encouraging our students to also look at TVET colleges. Yeah. But, we must find a way really to find a way. Again, government made a commitment last year. They said that by 2019, TVET colleges should accommodate at least 1.5 million students. But it is not the case. We are sitting at about 790,000 students at TVET colleges. So another call that we are making is that government has got the capacity. Let TVET colleges be expanded, take in more and more students. At least in our view, let us accept or admit 2 million students in 2019 in the TVET sector. Yes. I think that can alleviate the pressure that students face. I
mean, we're talking about all of the challenges that the matric class of 2018 faces, that the education system itself faces. But as your organization, are you optimistic about education in South Africa?
Well, our answer is twofold. On one fold, we are really optimistic. But if you look at the current of course, private schools are doing quite well, but our major concern is with public schools. We are really concerned about the lack of safety in our schools. Teachers do no longer feel safe. We are concerned about the high level of ill-discipline amongst learners. These are some of the factors that make it difficult for learning and teaching to take place properly. And we are also concerned about the progression policy as well, because a learner knows, for example, that even if I fail a grade again, there's no way in which I can remain in that grade for long because of this policy. So it is creating lazy learners in the process. So that is the challenge that we have, and we think that. Society in general, parents are not actively involved in the education of their children, and we think that, something drastic needs to be done to ensure that at the end of the day we are all coming on board to prioritize our education.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much for coming into studio and unpacking some of the challenges in our education system. Hendrick Makaneta is from Education for Social Justice Foundation. As